You start your coaching career with Marty Schottenheimer, who you played for, and then he hired you with the Chiefs. And I gather he was probably your primary mentor, at least with the transition to the NFL.
Yeah.
So what's maybe the most important thing that you learned from Schottenheimer?
Preparation. The guy left no stone unturned. He was unbelievable in terms of his work ethic, his ability to have structure, to have a sense of being prepared for meetings when you walk in. And one thing I learned about Marty is that you better be prepared when you walk into the meeting. The last thing you want to do as a coach is not be able to answer a question that a player asks you. And so if I didn't have the answer, number one, I didn't try to give him a bad answer. I'd say I don't have that right now, but I'll find out. And when that happened, that was like the worst thing that could happen. You feel terrible when that's what you have to say. So he talked to me about preparation, his ability to be so consistent. You talk about some of the winningest coaches in the National Football League, and he's up there. And yet he gets, when we talk about Marty, they talk about his playoff record. But this guy was a tremendous leader of men. He was tremendously flexible. He was willing to do things as long as it had, there was reasoning for it. And so if you presented an idea, you had to back it, make sure it was sound with what you were doing.
But he had an open mind.
But he was open-minded to it, absolutely.
A lot of coaches
no,
don't.
They don't. And so, his influence on me is tremendous because he gave me my first opportunity when I went from playing to coaching. He called me up when he took over for Sam Bertigliano in 1984. I was on IR with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I was a special teams captain. So I probably could have played a couple more years, but he said, listen, I want to give you a chance to come here as a special teams coach. And I'd been there just 2 years earlier, so I was going to go back to some of the same players that I've been playing with. And he goes, but I'm going to tell you one thing. You're going to work twice as long and make twice as less. And he said, what are you making now? I said, I'm making like $140,000 in my contract next year. He goes, well, you're going to get a contract for $50,000 to coach special teams. Don't answer me, but just give it some thought. And really, at that point, interesting enough, I was on IR, middle of the season. I started going down, and our special teams coach at the time was Frank Gantz. And Frank Gantz will go down as one of the great special team motivators of all time. Went coached in Kansas City, ironically enough. But I went down there and started watching him in meetings from a coaching perspective. Little did he know, I was in there and I was his captain, and I was on IR. I couldn't play anymore that year, but I just started thinking about it. And I got excited about the thought of coaching. And I went the following year in '85, and I coached special teams for 2 years with them, and then I moved to defensive backs. I'd never played there. I was a linebacker when I played. Coached the defensive backs for 2 years, and then I followed him to Kansas City when he left Cleveland.